My grandmother's house remembers everything. Every argument, every secret, every lie told in its rooms. And now that I'm living here alone, it started playing them back. The house that remembers everything. I inherited the house when Gran died. 3 stories, Victorian architecture, way too big for one person. But it was paid off, and I was broke, so the choice was obvious. Everyone in the family wanted to sell it. Too old, they said, too much maintenance. My Aunt Claire actually refused to come to the funeral because it was held there. "That house gives me the creeps," she told me on the phone. "Always has. Your grandmother knew things she shouldn't have known, things said in private." I laughed it off. Gran was just perceptive, good at reading people, that's all. The first week was normal. I spent my days sorting through her things, 70 years of accumulation, photographs, letters, books. The house was quiet, peaceful even. Then on day 8, I heard my voice. I was in the kitchen making coffee when it drifted down from upstairs, faint but unmistakable. My own voice, having a conversation I didn't remember having. I climbed the stairs slowly. The voice was coming from Gran's old bedroom. The door was open. The room was empty, but I could still hear it. Me, talking to someone. No, talking to Gran. "I can't do this anymore," my voice said. "I can't keep pretending everything's fine." Then Gran's voice, warm and comforting. "You don't have to pretend with me, sweetheart. This house keeps all our secrets." I remembered that conversation. It was from 3 years ago, the week before I left my ex-husband. I'd driven 6 hours to visit Gran, sat in that bedroom, and finally admitted I was miserable. But how was I hearing it now? How was the house playing back a conversation from 3 years ago? I searched the room. No speakers, no recording devices, nothing. The voices faded after a few minutes, and the house went silent again. I told myself it was grief, stress, my mind playing tricks. But that night, lying in bed, I heard something else. My parents, fighting, in the living room downstairs. The thing is, my parents haven't been in this house together in 15 years, not since their divorce. I got out of bed and crept down the stairs. The voices got louder with each step. "You're a coward," my mother's voice hissed. "You've always been a coward." "And you're cruel," my father shot back. "You enjoy hurting people." I stood outside the living room. The door was closed. I reached for the handle. The moment I touched the doorknob, the voices stopped. Complete silence. I opened the door. Empty room, furniture exactly as I'd left it. No one there. But the air felt thick, like the room was holding its breath, waiting for me to leave so it could continue. Over the next few days, it got worse. The house started playing back more memories, constantly. I'd walk into the dining room and hear Thanksgiving dinner from 1987, Gran laughing, my uncle telling jokes, my child self asking for more pie. In the bathroom, I heard my teenage cousin crying after her first breakup, Gran comforting her. The same bathroom where I'd cried over my own heartbreaks years later. The study played back my grandfather's voice, though he died when I was 10, reading the newspaper aloud, complaining about politics, humming while he did the crossword. Every room was an archive, a library of moments, and the house was the librarian, pulling memories off the shelf at random. But it wasn't random. I started to notice a pattern. The house only played back emotional moments, arguments, confessions, tears, laughter, but only the kind that came after pain, reconciliations, apologies. It fed on feeling, on human drama, and it had 70 years of it stored in its walls. I tried to leave, packed a bag, got in my car, but I couldn't do it. Where would I go? This was my house now, my inheritance. And if I'm being honest, part of me wanted to stay, wanted to hear more, because I was hearing things I'd never known, secrets, private moments I'd never been present for. I heard my parents' first fight before I was born, my mother pregnant and terrified, my father promising everything would be okay. I heard Gran talking to my grandfather's ghost years after he died, sitting alone in the bedroom at 3 a.m., whispering into the darkness. I heard my uncle confess to an affair, my aunt admit she'd always been jealous of Gran, cousins plotting, siblings competing. Every petty grudge, every tender moment, every lie and truth this family had ever spoken under this roof. The house remembered it all, and it wanted me to know. Then, one night, I heard something that changed everything. It was late. I was in bed, almost asleep, when I heard my own voice again, but not from the past, from earlier that day. "I don't know how much longer I can take this," my voice said. I'd said that out loud while making dinner, talking to myself, and the house had already recorded it, already added it to its collection. That's when I understood. The house wasn't just remembering the past, it was recording the present. Every word I spoke, every sound I made, every moment I lived here was being saved, stored, cataloged. I was contributing to the archive, feeding it, and one day, maybe years from now, someone else would live here, and they'd hear me, just like I was hearing everyone else. I was going to become a ghost in these walls. I stopped talking out loud, moved through the house in complete silence, even held my breath when I could. But it didn't matter. The house had other ways of recording. I heard my footsteps played back to me, the sound of my breathing, the creak of the bed when I rolled over at night. Every sound was being captured, preserved. Even silence, apparently, was worth remembering. I started to wonder what the house was, what it had become over 70 years of collecting moments. Was it still just a building, or had it become something else, something aware? That question was answered when I tried to find the source. There had to be something physical causing this, wiring, technology, something Gran had installed without telling anyone. I tore into the walls, pulled up floorboards, ripped down sections of plaster and drywall, looking for recording equipment. I found nothing, just old wood and insulation and the bones of a house built in 1887. But as I was putting things back together, I noticed something carved into one of the exposed beams, old hand-carved letters, nearly invisible under decades of paint. Memoria Domus, Latin, memory of the house, or maybe the house remembers. I found more carvings as I searched, different locations, different dates, all the way back to 1887. The original owner had carved them, along with phrases like "walls have ears" and "nothing forgotten" and "eternal witness." This wasn't something Gran had done. It wasn't technology or tricks. The house had been built to remember, designed for it, from the very beginning. And once I knew that, I started noticing other things. The playback wasn't random anymore. It was responding to me. When I thought about my ex-husband, the house would play back our worst fights. When I missed Gran, it would play her voice, comforting me like she used to. It knew what I was feeling, what I needed to hear, or what it wanted me to hear. The house was curating, choosing which memories to play, shaping my experience. And then it started showing me things I'd never heard before.
Conversations from before I was born, people I'd never met, voices I didn't recognize. A woman screaming in 1923, a man begging for forgiveness in 1945, children laughing in 1903. The house didn't just remember my family, it remembered everyone, every person who'd ever lived here, every word ever spoken within these walls for over a century. Hundreds of people, thousands of conversations, decades upon decades of human experience, all compressed into this structure. And I was living inside it, breathing it, sleeping in it. I was living inside a century of other people's memories. That's when I tried to burn it down. I poured gasoline on the living room floor, struck a match, watched the flames spread across the old hardwood, and the house screamed. Not with one voice, with hundreds, every voice it had ever recorded, all at once, shrieking in unison. The sound was so loud I dropped to my knees, covered my ears, but it didn't help. The sound was coming from everywhere, from inside the walls, from inside my head. Then the flames went out, just stopped, like someone had flipped a switch. The gasoline-soaked floor was suddenly dry, clean, like nothing had happened. And in the silence that followed, I heard my own voice. "You can't destroy me," I said, except I hadn't said it. The house had, using my voice, using words it had recorded. "I am every word you've ever spoken here. I am every moment you've lived. You're part of me now." And that's when I understood. I couldn't leave. I couldn't destroy it. I was already in the collection. I still live here. Where else would I go? The house plays its memories. I listen. Sometimes I talk back. Sometimes I hear myself talking back. Conversations I haven't had yet, played out of order, mixed with voices from decades ago. Time doesn't work right here anymore. Past and present blur together. But that's okay. The house remembers everything. And one day, so will I.